Welcome back to the Hard Thing Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Lewis, and this is the show that's going to show you how to do hard things by interviewing numerous men and women who have pushed the limits of what we thought was possible in doing hard things. I've talked to over 200 men and women who have all done incredibly hard things and asked them specific questions to figure out just how you and I can do those same hard things. Today, we're talking about mental health, how to surround yourself with amazing people, and actually continuing the conversation with my guest, Rob Eastman, who I had on the show on Monday. If you don't remember a little bit about Rob, he is a gym owner. He also has dealt with mental health and suicidal thoughts since he was in third grade, as well as addiction, not since third grade, but a little bit later. He's an entrepreneur, a life coach, and overall just amazing guy. Today, it's a really pivotal conversation, I think, specifically about getting yourself right, making sure you take care of yourself, but also reaching out to people around you and making sure you surround yourself with the most amazing. Hey guys, you know what I hate? I hate trying to figure out what I'm going to eat for dinner. I hate trying to plan it, I hate trying to cook it, and I hate trying to make sure I have all the ingredients. And not to mention making it healthy. That's always hard. Well, one thing that I found recently has made it a whole lot easier is HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a service that brings to you meals with all the ingredients that you need for each individual meal packaged in a bag, and recipe cards that tell you exactly how to make it in pretty quick time. And the ingredients are always fresh, and they're always very easy to make, and there's nothing super complicated about it. And the nice thing is, for my wife and I, it's actually portioned out for just two people. So we know we're not overeating. We know that we're learning how to cook for just two people without leftovers. And we're also getting a fair helping of vegetables in each meal. So I want to give you the opportunity to sign up for HelloFresh, which is actually one of my favorite services. All you got to do is go to listen.thehardthingpodcast.com/hello-fresh, and you can sign up to get $120 off of your first box of fresh ingredients and delicious recipes. Make sure you put in this promo code, though, HS-T213H5210. And this is only limited. It's only for a certain amount of people, and for every box that you guys get, it helps me and the podcast, and it helps lower our costs. But again, that promo code is HS-T213H5210 for $120 off towards your first box of fresh ingredients and delicious recipes. Honestly, we've had spaghetti, and I think the last time we did it was a couple nights ago. It was balsamic pork chops with green beans and garlic bread. Oh, it was so good. But again, make sure you go to listen.thehardthingpodcast.com/hello-fresh for $120 off of your first box. This is a limited offer, so only first come, first serve people possible, even if you don't necessarily have the budget to pay them. So go ahead and listen up to my conversation with Rob Eastman. And actually, to that note, you'd mentioned kind of the village effect earlier. And in the context of, surrounding yourself with these amazing people for the sake of your children, but I mean, obviously for the sake of yourself, what sort of tips would you give to someone who wants to start deliberately surrounding themselves with selective individuals who might not have quite the budget to pick and choose each one as a coach?
Yeah, so there's a lot of amazing groups out there, but brave enough that, let me just tell you what I personally did. I went and shadowed and worked for free for like a physical therapist. I went and shadowed the business guy that I wanted to be, just his practices alone. I didn't want to be in his businesses, but his work ethic and things like that. I went and did whatever he needed me to do for like 4 months. People like that, but there's a ton of free groups and things like that, but you got to be willing to step out of your comfort zone and become the student again. So for a grown man to call another grown man and be like, hey, will you mentor me? It's showing a weakness in our ego. It's like somehow this dude's better than me and I don't want him to think that. But it might be like for someone calling me who's struggling with alcohol, who's struggling with self-harm, who wants to learn more in the gym or whatever it is, calling like, hey, dude, I'll clean your gym if I can come work out with you a couple times a week. Cool, let's go. You got to be willing to ask, because the answer is always no if you don't. But finding out and being willing to look at the guy looking back in the mirror and being honest. I wasn't honest with myself until I was like probably 33, looking at myself in the mirror, bawling my eyes out because my wife just left. My dad died and the bank took everything I owned early in my sobriety. And I'm like, okay, who are you without these things? I'm like, I'm a piece of shit. I suck. I'm a liar. I'm a cheat. And I'm a fake. And it was like, okay. I was honest. Like it literally made me feel better. And now I had a foundation which to move forward. So depending on what it is, man, woman, business, spiritual leaders, like I've been studied Buddhism, LDS, gone to Catholic churches, like their philosophies and ideals and ways that they tell the same story or help me through the same things. That's why I call my spirituality Chuckarama. Is sometimes I need roast beef with mac and cheese. Sometimes I need a salad and a cinnamon roll. I don't know who it is, who's going to be able to help me that day, but I've got to be willing to go out and seek it to get the help. So if you can't afford it, there's people willing to do it for free. There's all sorts of Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, whatever it is, mother groups, single mother groups, single father groups, like anything you could think of, there's a group for it. And it's probably free. And being brave enough to walk through that door, feeling insecure, less than, all these things, to walk in and find out that you are not alone is so empowering. You just got to get there. Seek and ye shall find. And I'm, like I said, I'm not a spiritual man, or I'm not a religious man, but it is so true, man.
When you first started on your path of sobriety, did you have certain people that were kind of maybe more filled this role than others?
Yeah, I went to AA every single day for probably 2 years. I didn't dare talk. I didn't want anybody to know who I was, but I sat in the room and I continuously, day after day after day, heard people from all walks of life, dudes that looked homeless to dudes that looked like millionaires, tell my story. And I was like, wait, if that dude can talk about his life and it's exactly like mine, different players, different situation, but then why can't I share? Maybe I have something to say. And I remember the first couple of times I shared, I don't remember anything because I was like blacked out from anxiety. I was like, I'll take another 24. And I kind of come out of that blackout like, what did I just say? And in fear that people would be like, could you please sit down? Would you not talk again? And always somebody would come up and be like, dude, I needed to hear that today. Like, I don't remember what I said, but I'm glad you needed it, And it's just like, we're all somebody else's puzzle piece. But if you don't share that, how the heck are you supposed to change anybody? And it's not the good things. It's usually most people that are good at something, it's because they sucked at it, because they failed really hard at it and they kept with it and they figured it out. I mean, there's nothing, that microphone you're talking into, those headphones. How many do you think somebody just made that and it worked? No, it didn't. If they would have quit, we'd still be banging rocks and talking through cans and string. Mm-hmm. But yet we're on a video chat across the state, bullshitting, like everything we do, the chair you're sitting on, the clothes you're wearing, it's all made by failure. Everything. And that's beautiful to me. That lets me know that I'm not making epic mistakes and uneducated decisions, that it's okay to fail forward. It's okay if I didn't get it right the first time. It's okay to surround yourself with people that might help you get it a little bit easier. And it's okay that I'm never going to do math. And I don't want to, all those things that I felt less than. It's like, man, there's somebody willing to do that part because they don't want to do what you do.
Mm-hmm. One of the biggest lies we were told as kids is you're going to need this when you're older.
Yeah. Right. And actually, bully's like, nah, I got 3 of these smart kids.
Right.
My thumb.
Right. Kind of on that note, I know it's kind of a sidetrack. I wanted to ask this earlier, and this might be somewhat of a hard question because it is hypothetical, but obviously, you said you went to school and you were impressed into structure, right? Um, do you think, or how do you think things might have been different if you were maybe homeschooled and given kind of personal treatment and things like that?
Yeah. Well, back then, I think I probably would have made my mom shave her head.
Uh,
I think it's just that lack of education, right? They didn't know. The teachers knew the subject. They didn't know the subjects, being the kids and different moods. And there was a cookie cutter. This is, you need to fit into this box. And a lot of us have never fit into that box, nor did we want to. Now it's getting a little bit better, but like we're finding that the ROI on a college degree is not the same. Going and learning something that you're passionate about that gets you out of bed on a Monday will save you more money and make you more money in your lifetime than going to a job you hate, getting therapy for that job you hate, possibly losing a marriage and getting half cut in half anyways because of that job you hate. I'm big on you figure out what carrot you want to chase. Like society's dangling this carrot, and most people are like, I don't think I want that, but I guess everybody's going that way. And they don't have that entrepreneurial spirit or support system saying, dude, I believe in you. Go live your life, do it well, and we got you. So I'm big on, man, I've helped a lot of people quit their jobs, helped a lot of people make money doing what they love. You know, I've been owning and operating businesses since I was 20, even through my addiction, and learned a lot of cool things. I had an amazing father to guide me on some of that stuff, and some amazing family members that I didn't quite get it through my addiction, but now being out of it and being able to apply those tools, that it's like, you know, not everybody's, especially one for mothers, man. Not every mom is cut out to be a stay-at-home mom, and they feel guilty that they're not this mama bear. It's like, no, man, go to work, come home, and love that kid for the 4 hours rather than pulling your hair out for 4 hours, right? And so that it comes back to that quality time. Do what you do well, hire out the rest, and everybody else will be happier in your circle. And fathers, if you suck at being the breadwinner, then talk to your wife about it and be like, you know what? I need support on this. Let's grind together because this is one of my downfalls, but I will promise to make dinner when you get home and da, 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 da. Same thing. All men aren't lumberjacks. We're not getting up. We're not grinding every morning. We're not like, you don't have to be true. That the saying in AA, to thine own self, be true. You got to live by that. Like, own it, figure you out, and go forward with that. Figure out your instruction manual and do that. And if whoever you're with can't handle that, just because you're a square and she's a circle doesn't mean you're either one of you suck. You just need to play the game that you've been given.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had my instructions, because I could have saved a lot of women a lot of heartache and pain of running them dry and then getting rid of them because they couldn't handle me anymore and making them feel less than. And like, understanding me now, it's like, I forewarn, I come with a warning label. Here you go. I'm high strung. I'm going a million miles an hour all the time. But this is how my love languages are. This is what I do and I don't do. Here's my boundaries. And this is my moral compass. If you can handle that, then step across the line. Enter the gladiators ring. But it's like, we weren't taught boundaries as kids. We were taught about the white picket fence and that this is what a man's job was, and it's going to be great and everybody's going to be happy and blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't the case, at least for me. My dad was successful. My brother was successful. My brother-in-laws were all successful. And here I am just scraping, like blowing every opportunity I had up, lighting the town on fire, literally, you know, and it's like, just feeling like a loser because I was trying to be the best copycat. I was trying to do what they did, which I had no desire to do.
So with all that, what sort of things did you do to deepen, I guess, your honesty with yourself and really come to that deeper self-awareness? So you knew all those warnings that you could give to prospective mates, or you knew what you were actually searching for?
Yeah. So for me, my relationship with my higher power, he knows that I'm not a still small voice guy. So I've had some pretty blessed opportunities to have my And I don't know if you swear on here, and I hope I
Go
didn't
for it.
screw that up, but I've had my ass kicked a few times by my higher power, who I choose to call God. Every time I think I got it figured out, he's like, boing, off the pedestal.
Well,
Here
I
you
mean,
go.
in the Bible, it says David wrestled with God, and so God's a wrestler. We should be wrestlers too, I guess, then, right?
Yeah. So for me, it took, I needed the beautiful wife to make me feel cool. I needed the big house and the cool cars to make me look cool. I needed my dad to pay for those when I couldn't. So what were the first three things gone in my first 9 months of sobriety? My wife left. The bank took everything I owned, and my dad died. I wouldn't know that before because I'm going through it and life's happening to me. And once I stepped back and saw that it was happening for me, that it took such an extreme thing for me to get humble enough to see my own path and to get out of my own way. It's like some of us got to get just absolutely destroyed to see the path. And I hope, pray to God, none of you guys are like me. But it was like, okay, who am I without those people? And I was a loser. I was nothing. And that gave me a great place to start. I went from making 35 grand a month in my concrete company to getting food stamps, government assisted living, and borrowing a car to go anywhere. So to go from those two extremes, big, $500,000 home in North Salt Lake and big diesel truck and beautiful wife and all that stuff, to driving this little Barbie car and putting a hoodie up and glasses on so nobody would know it was me. And like I'd be in line to use my food stamp card. And if anybody was behind me, I'd let them go. And I would wait until nobody was behind me because I was embarrassed to have help. And it was all these massive ego destroying things that allowed me to humble up. I feel blessed to have all these first world problems and be true to myself. You've heard of Eric Thomas.
I have
He's
not.
the hip-hop preacher, number one motivational speaker in the world.
Wow.
So I'm sitting there and I'm in the bathroom in San Diego, and I hear this voice. And I told my wife at the time, I said, "Go out there. Who is that?" And she comes back in. She's like, "It's Eric Thomas." So I pulled my pants up and I ran out in the hall, and I talked to this dude forever. And he's really the one that painted that picture. He's like, "Man, life's willing to teach you that same lesson time and time again." He's like, "Do you hear yet, stupid?" And if you don't hear him, he's going to keep teaching you, going to keep teaching you until you humble up and get out of your own way. And ego is just that thing where some of us are brought up in amazing conditions, believing that we're entitled to that, not given the skills necessary to understand how to do that for ourselves. And then it comes time to do it for ourselves, and we're pissed at the world that why don't I get a Beamer? Why don't I get a house like that? How come my kid doesn't get this? And that's tough, especially, and I shouldn't say especially, I'm sure it's in a lot of places, but we are really, really good at keeping up with the Joneses. And we're like the number one state for credit card debt. And it's like, we're running around being the best copycats. We're frauds. And most people, I think, if they would just kind of get that minimalist mentality that less is more, which I learned a lot of from the Buddhist people, that, man, when you let go of stuff, I've got this thing and it's a picture of Yoda, and it says, "Let go of everything you fear to lose." And it's like our phones. Nobody leaves without that. It's in your hand, it's in your pocket, it's in your face, it's whatever. The cool car you can't afford, all these different things. And if all those things can be taken, I was feeling I always imagine that we all have this hole in our soul, right? And that's where the place is where we start using things, people, places, and things to make us feel better. The cute girl, the buddies telling us how cool we are, the sports to people like, "Oh, you're so good," or whatever. All that can go away. Then what are you left with? This hole. So until you learn to feel yourself, to love yourself, to be more self-aware and do the things that make you better, you're going to be empty. And I'd use a girl until I wasn't great anymore. And then I'd go to the next and I'd go to the next. Abuse my mom, not just in the sense like attention seeking. wear people out because I didn't love myself and I needed you to love me. I put more effort into you loving me than me loving me. And that ruined me, absolutely ruined me. So for my daughter, if people saw me, I'm 185 pounds and single digit body fat and covered in tattoos, and I'm a hell of a fighter. And, I'm going to make sure nobody dates my daughter until she's 28. Right. But that would be clipping her wings. My job as a father is to prepare her for guys like me.
Right.
Is to let her know what's really coming down the pipeline, to prepare her for the ups and the downs that life has to offer. Hopefully it doesn't ever dish her what I got, but she's going to be ready for it. She's not going to have blinders on. And it's like the more educated she gets, the happier she is, the more confident she is. People are like, oh, it's going to take her innocence away. She doesn't need to know that. Like, she is the happiest, coolest little girl that I know.
Yeah. Innocence doesn't mean happiness or fulfillment.
Yeah. Education, at least let them understand, like, don't have sex. Okay. Why? Well, just don't. We don't do that. That was my sex education.
Yeah. Same here.
Okay. Well, where does it go? Right. What do we do? And then you get in that situation and you, like, we won't even go there, but whether it be alcohol, drugs, like, it got to a place where I promised my mom I wouldn't do drugs, but the emotional pain was so strong and I didn't want to kill myself because I promised my dad I wouldn't. So I had to pick. Right. And a lot of people made weed look really cool. So when I smoked weed and the pain went away for a little bit, that was great. And I thought it was a lifesaver. And then eventually, it doesn't matter how much you smoke, when the weed wears off, the pain's twice as strong. The alcohol wears off, it's still there. The pills wear off, it's still there. Right. So you can be shackled by the numbness, or you can learn these life skills and learn to fight through it. That's what I've got, this tattoo on my bicep, and it says, it's better to stand and fight. If you run, you will only die tired. And I spent the first 31 years of my life running. I didn't like to feel anything. And if I would have accepted pain and brought it in and welcomed it as a friend, I wouldn't have had to learn such hard lessons.
Yeah. I think one way to look at it is, I like to call it the law of escalation. God or the universe or whatever, the lessons that you learn are going to be taught to you in varying degrees of softness or hardness. And if you don't learn it, it's going to come harder until you learn it, but thanks so much for being on the show, Rob. We're coming down to the last little bit that we have together. So before we let you go, how can people reach out to you, support you, see what you're up to?
And I got a lot going on right now, and I'm super pumped about it. So I'm most active on Instagram, and you can find me at Tattooed Life Coach and the number 8. You can find me at tattooedlifecoach.com. And then I've got a book coming out at the end of the year. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'll be done. But you can go on my bio and on Instagram and find all my links. And then I've got a podcast. It's called Stand and Fight, that we talk about all the taboo conversations that people don't have, but that need to have. Yeah. So love to have you come on and share some of your stuff. It's always fun to be the interviewer, but sometimes you need to be share your puzzle pieces with the rest of the world.
Yeah, for sure.
I do a lot, speaking engagements. Like I said, I just started that youth treatment program called The Village Effect, that we work with families and youth on all of the stuff that we're talking about. We're never too old to learn, and we're never too young to learn. So to be able to become, as a family and as a community, more well-rounded, more open to the fact that we don't have to have the answers and that we can share our fails with people and grow is kind of our goal. So like I said, I'm speaking a lot, and if you want me in your corporate meeting or church meeting or schools or whatever, I'm happy to come and talk. And I've got a wide range of lifestyles. My dad was a school board president, car dealer, majority whip at the state Senate, and my uncle's one of the 12 apostles. And so I've got a really unique blend of things that I've gone through for ultimately no reason because I just couldn't get out of my own way, So, but yeah, biggest thing is I hope when people hear this, they know they're not alone, and that if they have some things that they're not capable of dealing with, that they have a place to reach. And I have so many resources connected with mental health first aid. I'm a first responder for mental health, and I've got just about every certification we have in the state. And if I can't help you, I've got people who can, and resources to kind of walk you through that darkness, So
Awesome.
But I appreciate you doing this, man. It's just one of those things that we can't have enough of this type of conversation. And this needs to be as cooler than the talk about the football game this weekend. And, this has much more effect, much more important than what the NBA or anybody else is doing, because this is real human level. And I appreciate you and applaud you for caring enough to take your time out of the day to put something on like this for the people. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was my pleasure to put on my show. But last thing before we let you go, we got to give our audience some action items. So in an effort to try and be more specific than I am usually, here are the action items I came up with based on what we talked about. So number one is take 5 minutes to analyze the example that you're setting for your children or those around you. Number two is tell someone how you are actually feeling today. Open up and say, you know what? It's Friday. I'm feeling good, but I'm not looking forward to blah, blah, blah. Number three, think of one person that you would like a relationship with, call them up or message them in some way, offer them to help them with something in exchange for getting some advice. Would you like to add to that list at all?
Yeah, some simple things that I have my people do and that changed my life was setting an alarm on my cell phone 3 times a day that says, check in and pray. Check in means, how am I feeling physically? How am I feeling emotionally right now? Whether it's good or bad, why? How can I recreate it to be better? Or what was it that made me feel bad? And I'm going to go fix it right now. Do not wait. And then breathe. A lot of the times we start to feel anxious, we've forgotten to breathe. We're getting a quarter of the oxygen. And just breathe. And once you do this 3 times a day, set it right before you get to work, set it midday, and set it right before you come home from work, so that you don't bring any drama home to your family, that you can clear the air, that you can go talk with your coworker, that you can stop. And it teaches you how to have a bad moment rather than a bad day, a bad week, or a bad year. And it's so simple, but then you get more self-aware. You're more aware of the feelings, the good and the bad. So that's a freebie, and it's amazing, and it will change. It's so dumb, and it will change your life. You'll feel better in 3 days. I can promise you that. It's
Excellent.
crazy. And remember to breathe.
Yeah, so I will get all that up in the show notes, the action items, as well as how to reach out to Rob. And seriously, if you are struggling, reach out to either one of us. But if you get a chance, reach out to Rob and just thank him for coming on the show. I know he would really appreciate that. But thank you so much, Rob, for coming here and sharing your story and just making it really interesting.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Justin.
Thank you again for listening to today's show. I sincerely appreciate your patronage. And do me a favor. Go ahead and reach out to Rob at Tattooed Life Coach 8 on Instagram. Tell him what you thought of the show. Also, if you get a chance, reach out to me on Instagram at The Hard Thing Podcast. Give me some feedback on the show. Tell me what you're looking for, what you're not looking for, and help me get you more of what you want. Thanks again for listening to today's show. Make sure you guys do those action items. And stay tuned after this to hear from our show sponsors. But keep doing hard things, and you will overcome. Today's show is also sponsored by the Breakfast Leadership Podcast. This is a show produced by one of my friends, and he was also on the podcast. His name's Mike Levitt. He was actually one of the earlier guests on the show, and he's been kind enough to support the show, so I want to support him. So go ahead and listen up to the trailer for his podcast, The Breakfast Leadership.
Want to grow your business and your life? Feeling stressed and a little burned out? Then take action and listen to The Breakfast Leadership Show, hosted by Michael Levitt. You'll experience interviews and top tips from global leaders, entrepreneurs, and marketing experts. Go to breakfastleadership.com. That's breakfastleadership.com. You'll find online courses, resources, and interviews with valuable business info all in one place. The Breakfast Leadership Show is available on your favorite podcast platform.
Average. Hey guys, one quick announcement for today's show, and you might have heard this already, even in today's episode, but I have an awesome opportunity for you guys. Once in a lifetime, you have the opportunity to have dinner with myself and a covert CIA operative. That's right, an undercover spy. My guest, Andrew Bustamante, has been gracious enough to offer himself up as guest for a dinner with myself and one lucky audience member. So if you want to sign up for that, make sure you hit the link in the show notes below. As well, you can go to Instagram and hit the link in my bio at The Hard Thing Podcast. This is first come, first serve, and there's only one slot. So whoever signs up first will have the opportunity to come to Utah and have dinner with myself and Andrew Bustamante. It's an exciting opportunity. It's one that you'll be able to brag about to your friends, of being able to sit down having dinner with an undercover secret agent. So don't waste any time. Go ahead and sign up in the link in the show notes, or go to Instagram at The Hard Thing Podcast and click the link in my bio, and you'll find all the relevant information there. So look forward to having dinner with you.